Rainbow Witches, and welcome back to another week of humaning, being on Earth, we're alive. And whether you are feeling it this week, feeling so good, or if you are supremely disappointed, dissatisfied, and quite frankly, disassociated from the experience of being alive, we are here. I begin this week with a little bit of that silliness because I really feel like this message has a deep heart of simplicity, of enjoying, of going all in on the moment. And I think that it's going to be really helpful for us to engage in that sort of behavior and perspective while we navigate the astrological weather, while we navigate the physical experiences that are happening on Earth on a macro scale with the government and the aliens and the ocean tides and climate distress, or whether it's the personal micro experiences of death inside and shedding and renewing and uncovering things that you didn't know were your traumas, that are your traumas, or whatever it is, right? There's so many things that make this experience wild. And this week, we really get to lean into the moments that make us feel good. The cards on the table I have for us today, the theme of the week is the Nine of Pentacles. Delicious. The Nine of Pentacles, especially in this moment, is a beautiful, juicy, ripe invitation to just enjoy the fuck out of whatever it is that is enjoyable or that can be enjoyed, and to zoom in your perspective of what is enjoyable and what can be enjoyed to the smallest minutia. Is that a word? If it's a word, I'm not super confident in its usage. Even if I may have done it right or wrong, I'm going to confidently move forward as if it was correct. And I expect you to just vibe with me, my dears. We're being invited to lean in to the world and to lean out of the Six of Pentacles. And I'm sort of going to run with it from here. So that's, I don't want to say the last time I'll talk about the cards specifically because you know me, but get that in your heart right now. Nine of Pentacles. Lean into the world, lean out of the Six of Pentacles. And I want to start with that story about Kurt Vonnegut. I don't know if it's like a super popular story, or if it's been trending, or if I just so happened to see it. I don't know, but we're going to talk about it. It's just this small story, and I'm paraphrasing here, about Kurt Vonnegut and a conversation he had with his wife. And he said he was going to go out and buy an envelope. And she was all, "You're not broke. Like, you're not a poor man. You could just order a massive stack of them and put them in the closet. You'll have envelopes." And he was all, "Nah, like, I'm going to go get an envelope." And that is word for word. No, I really think that this is beautiful, right? Because his point is that he would not want to be robbed of the experience of walking down the street, of seeing a delightful baby's face, of looking at a cloud, of seeing, a person wearing shoes, all of the basic and simple joys that are available to us in one of the most simple tasks. For example, of course, going to buy a single envelope and how that is one of the joys of his life, and wouldn't want that robbed from him by like leaning into convenience or anything that would rob that experience. And I really feel like that little story is so applicable to the reading this week, so applicable to these cards, especially since it came to my mind when I pulled the cards down. And I really think that that's our invitation. These cards, this energy is not saying you don't have problems. This energy is not saying that they don't need to be solved or that they're not affecting you. But what this energy does say is that with the rising of this full moon, you are encouraged to enjoy all of the small pieces of your life. And it is not correct. It's a misunderstanding to think that that is something that comes easy to us. Maybe it was once upon a time. I think it definitely was once upon a time. But in the way that we are raised with our stimuli, our circumstances right now, it is not easy. It doesn't come naturally for us to really be present and enjoy the smallest pleasures, or to enjoy the smallest mundane experiences and to perceive them and witness them as pleasurable. It's one of the most amazing things about being a kid, right? We always talk about like, oh, when I was a kid, even like doing the dishes was fun. And, I used to personally pretend that I was just like at a retail job. Like that was my fantasy. And of course, a lot of times kids are just like reflecting and replicating what they see. But I did find joy in it. And we did find joy in these basic things. And it's because of its freshness, its newness. And I don't think that that's the only reason. I don't personally think that it's only because it was new and fresh that we found joy. I think that it's because children are new here and are still in a place where they have been unaffected, or before they have become like bitter and jaded to the world because of its circumstances. So they're still in a place of awe, of real intensive gratitude for being here. And I think that we can take a lot from that experience. We can learn a lot from that experience, and trying to put ourselves in our own inner child's perspective. And I think that we don't necessarily have to regress or invite the inner child to come to the outside and drive the whole ship. But I do think we can utilize that kind of perspective. And the other hot topic of the week, I think, is another great way to sort of view the world in this fresh way again, with the aliens. One, me and y'all, we've been known that aliens are real. I'm not even sure that this admission is as honest as it could be. And I definitely don't think their intentions are what we think they are. But we can use this to sort of find a way to put those new, fresh world glasses or perspective on, right? If you yourself were an alien, if you yourself had just gotten here or knew that you are just not from here, every single piece of mundanity would be delightful, would be glorious, would be exciting. And I'm not saying you have to delude yourself. But what I am saying is that there is a streak of wonder about everything on this planet. And you have the ability to reconnect, to tap back into that streak of wonder, to let yourself be mesmerized and awestruck by existence. Not just by the big, glorious things like redwoods and waterfalls, but by the smallest thing, like having a mailbox. Even in our witch life, like lighting a candle and then the flame is contained and it's there and it's your friend. It's sort of your partner in the room and it illuminates for you. A feather on the ground, incredible. They can just drop them and grow a new one. And then there's this memento. The fact that we have all of these little relationships and friendships that fit in our pocket, in our phone. I think that putting your alien perspective on this week will help you maintain a sense of wonder that you really deserve to experience, that we deserve to experience. Leaning in to the world and leaning out of the Six of Pentacles, I think really says you can sort of let this happen, right? You could sort of let the completion, the graduation, let the shedding happen, and give yourself a little less responsibility when it comes to like solving the problem. And again, of course, these problems need to be addressed. Of course, our issues need to be addressed. And I'm not asking you to ignore them. But we do have a little bit of a tendency to sort of focus on what's difficult and hyper-identify with what is difficult for us in our lives. And I think that intentionally shifting that identification of what is difficult and intentionally shifting the focus to something else. Not in with the intention of, like I said, not with the intention of deluding yourself, and not with the intention of bypassing what needs to be addressed and giving into behavior that is going to that is going to make you further behind and feel worse, and not actually let you be present for what it is that I'm asking you to be present for. We don't want to continue to like feed into an avoidant personality when there are things that are actively being made worse by our avoidance, right? We don't want to do that. But when we are becoming hyper present, delightfully present to the delights and to the wonder, we can sort of look at those things that we've been avoiding with a different perspective, a different sense of how strange and nonsensical. Let me see what I can do about it. Let me engage with this. What a wild thing to be happening in any existence, let alone on this wonderful, wacky little planet. Let me see how I want to engage with this instead of avoiding it. The Nine of Pentacles, again, is our theme. And I think that you can just build out your world right now. Build out your world this week. Let that Aquarius moon tell you all of the weirdest little secrets about yourself. Let it open up a different lens of your eye, of your third eye, so that you can see what is just silly, how this whole world is a joke, how existence is a joke, and that doesn't make it less valuable. It doesn't make it disposable. It makes it precious and glorious and delicious and satisfying and endorphin inducing. Like all of the best comedy helps you have catharsis and increase your capacity for joy and to allow you to release unabashedly. That's what good comedy does. And existence is a joke. And that's good. But it gets really difficult when we lose sight of that, and we lose the, not the ability, but we lose the, what's the word I'm looking for? Capacity, maybe, to, or the will to remember that it's the joke and that sort of nothing is the punchline. The card in the bottom of the deck is the Seven of Swords, and I really just feel like there's an undertone of this week of what is going to go wrong. When is the other shoe going to drop? When am I going to be a failure? Where am I going to be not enough? Where am I not going to have enough? And it's constantly over my shoulder. It's constantly over my shoulder. I think that the spirits want us to all recognize that they know that you feel this way, and that they know that we are facing incredible difficulty in so many areas of our lives, collectively and individually. They know that. And they're not asking you to just ignore it for ignoring its sake, but they don't want you to miss out on the beauty of every day, of the incredible absurdity of a sunrise, in the simultaneously horrible, sort of despicable illness of the planet, and how the experience of walking around at a wildly hot day is also kind of absurd. I don't think that we need to sort of make a lot of space this week for a lot of news or a lot of quote unquote keeping ourselves updated. I think that we'll know what we need to know when we need to know it. And you know me, I'm not trying to tell you not to know what's going on in the world. I just think that it's important to craft a little container every once in a while so that you remember what's important for you to pay attention to, so that you remember what feels good for you to engage in. Not because you get to feel good all the time, but because so much of the time you just do not get to. That feeling good is so far away. And because of that, you are not selfish. You are not wrong. You are not hoarding. You are not problematic for finding a way to have some container of joy, of brevity, of levity, of lightness, of laughter, of live, laugh, love, okay? Okay. Kier said live, laugh, love today, okay? Because you are going to be able, we are all going to be able to, I think, access a different layer of our desire. I think that this Venus retrograde is peeling back layers of things we thought we liked and is showing you even with even more detail and even more vividness what you really want and what your desires are and how they have grown and split and twisted and blended and changed. And because of that, because there's going to be this whole other layer of who we are and what we want, this week is sort of a week that we get to not force ourselves to solve the problems that are not on our plate to solve, and to really lean into the presence, to lean into the absurdity of mundanity, to the joke of existence, to the sheer delight of getting in your little car and driving somewhere, listening to somebody talk to you or sing to you, and then going to your job where you're going to pick up the phone or make a copy. And how, of course, like, I understand that that's not always an accessible feeling. Like, you're like, listen, Kier, I'm not going to be able to feel that way at my job. And I'm like, I get that. I fully get that. But there's also this sort of like invitation to find where that will work for you. Maybe it's not in making a copy and playing with a copy machine. Maybe it's not in any of your actual work duties. Maybe it's in the people, or maybe it's explicitly not in the people, but the fidget toy that you bring, and how it's so silly that you go to this little job and then you sit down and you play with this toy and everybody is going about their day pretending that like the world is the world is one way when you definitely know that it is another, and we're all simultaneously like collectively ignoring aliens, and how there are like incredible beasts in the wild saying, we agree with you, no millionaires, gross. There's so many wildly delightful, ridiculous, absurd things about being alive. And while so many of them can cause us like pain and existential trauma, maybe not existential trauma, existential drama and panic and dread, some of them can also just give us a freedom. It can shift your perspective and give you a sense of freedom that this life is just ridiculous. And even though there are things that we need to address as the gods on this planet, all of us, humanity is that. We cannot wait for deity to do something, to change something. That's what we are here to do. We are the gods that walk this earth. And of course, there needs to be attention paid to that. Attention paid to the things that only we can change and that we are expected to change ourselves. That is our divine duty and responsibility to address. And that sometimes doing a little eyeliner is like the silliest thing in the world and you're going to put a face on because it's just ridiculous. Or like playing with your cat because you have a beast friend, little monster living in your house, and you have a house. How silly is that? I think that the presence, the moment, this just breath this week of putting on your alien glasses and pretending that you're from a different planet and becoming completely childlike and re-enamored and mystified by this world will give you a good deal of energetic healing that I think is just not possible in any other way. And I think that this Aquarius moon really wants you to be at your weirdest. It wants you to be at your most alienness. Like, you just got here, okay? Now give me a report. What's going on? How weird is it? Experience it. This is your vacation. This is your lifelong vacay. How wild. How utterly absurd. And find a way to enjoy it. Because you deserve that. We all do. Okay, this was much longer than I intended. And of course, you probably know that I always do that. I love you, Emil. Take care of yourselves. It's so fun to be on this wacky little planet with you at the same time. How coincidental and totally fated. I'll talk to you soon and see you at the end of the week if you are coming to the astrology club. All right, kisses.